Hi, this is Aaron Masliansky, the host of Inside the Skev. This episode, we're going to be speaking with Lorri Lippitz, who's the band leader for the Maxwell Street Klezmer Band, and I thought we'd start off by listening to some of their music, so please enjoy.
Steht der Boden ohne Tracht und Tracht a ganze Nacht. Wenn man zu nehmen und nicht verschämen, wenn man zu nehmen und nicht verschämen. Tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, 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 laika. Tumbala-laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala-laika, freilich soll sein.
Medu, ich will bei dir fragen, was kann wachsen und regen, was kann brennen und nicht aufhören, was kann denken, weinen und hören.
Tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala, laika, freilich soll sein. Tumbala-laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala-laika, freilich soll sein. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala-laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala-laika, tumbala-laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala-laika, freilich soll
Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today we're here with Lorri Lippitz, who is the leader of the Maxwell Street Band, which is a klezmer band in the Chicago area, and Lorri's here from Skokie. So, Lorri, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, and I was actually raised in Evanston, so I cover all your territories.
You're totally inside the Skev.
Correct.
Perfect. So, Lorri, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the Maxwell Street Band is?
Sure. In 1983, I was a graduate student at the University of Chicago in Slavic languages and literature. And at the same time, I've been introduced to some musicians, including Don Jacobs, who's a clarinetist, also from Evanston. And they were interested in starting a klezmer band. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a music major. I didn't have a band background. I hadn't been in school band, for example, or anything like that. But I was sort of a folk singer with a guitar. And I was interested in Yiddish folk music. I was more fluent in Russian folk music as a Slavic studies major, but I had come into Yiddish music by being part of a theater production that had Yiddish folk songs as part of the production. So anyway, I signed on to this group just for fun, and then I really enjoyed it, and I thought, I would like to do this, but I would like to do it a little differently than this group was doing it. So I decided just like that, to form my own band. I mean, just like without any background, which, could have been a big problem, except that I decided that since I didn't have this background, I would hire people, musicians, who did have a lot of background in playing in bands, and I'd ask them to help me, show me the ropes, how it's done. And that's so we've always, from that very first time, 1983 or so, I've always involved the other musicians in a kind of a collective, like showing me how to be a band leader. And over the years, I kind of figured it out.
Well, you've had some experience now. What gave you the interest in Yiddish and Slavic languages?
Slavic languages were interesting to me because, you've grown up in a Jewish household,
Sure.
no doubt, and so probably you were exposed in some way or another to maybe Theodor Bickel singing Yiddish or Russian folk songs, or classical Russian music, Tchaikovsky and Stravinsky and Shostakovich. This is something that's in the cultural background of a lot of Jewish families, American Jewish families.
Sure, and especially at events and stuff like that, weddings, bar mitzvahs, of that nature.
Sure,
That's
right.
really where I've heard a lot.
Well, the klezmer part of it, I didn't pick up through the Russian background. The Russian background I picked up because my father loved Russian music and played it all the
Okay.
time at home, and used to. I remember once he dragged me to the television and said, "I don't want to go." I was like 13. He said, "No, you got to watch this movie," and it was a Russian movie called Alexander Nevsky by Prokofiev was the music, Eisenstein was the director, and I didn't want to watch it because Dad was making me watch it. But,
Right, of course.
But I actually got completely sucked into it, and in the music and the language, and it spoke to me in a way that was very emotionally deep, and I thought, I'd like to learn this language. So I started studying Russian at Evanston Township High School.
Wow.
And then continued on learning the music, learning to sing the songs, etc. But klezmer music, I only learned about on WFMT on the Midnight Special, because they played a group called the Klezmorim from California. They played them in the late 1970s. And I heard this music. I thought, this is great music. What is it?
Yeah.
And it's Jewish? I didn't know we had music like this. We need this in Chicago. And that was my motivation. I just felt, it was very selfish. It was like, I love this music that I've heard, but they don't have it here. They have it on the East Coast. They have it on the West Coast. They don't have it in Chicago. We need it here in Chicago. And that was the whole of it.
And, the name, the Maxwell Street Band, I imagine, obviously, it's taken from Maxwell Street and just what that speaks of. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Now, it is specifically called Maxwell Street Klezmer Band.
Okay, thank you for correcting me.
Because if it were Maxwell Street Band, that would suggest the blues era of Maxwell Street, of course.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is, Maxwell Street has been the home to a rolling variety of ethnic music, from starting with Jewish, because Jews established that market at the turn of the century. I brought you an album cover of our first album, Maxwell Street Days.
A piece of vinyl here.
And,
Yes.
and if you look in the background, we've kind of photoshopped an original photograph from the turn of the last century.
It says Fish Market in
That
Hebrew.
is correct, right?
Yes.
This is kind of a famous picture.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And that was Maxwell Street, because Jews needed to buy and to sell, and they obviously weren't going to do so on the Sabbath.
Right.
So they'd wait till Sunday morning, and then after Shabbat, and they would, first thing in the morning, they would turn the whole street into a big marketplace with push carts, little shops, and it was known for having a very carnival atmosphere. People would come from all over, from Indiana, from Wisconsin, for what were called Maxwell Street Days,
Yeah.
which were these Sunday morning marketplace events where you could, buy and find interesting things, and it was a lot of fun. So that was the origin of the idea of Maxwell Street Klezmer Band. Was we don't need to reference Ellis Island or some other city. We have our own culture,
Absolutely.
our own Jewish history here. I don't know about your people, but my one side of my family was very much in the Maxwell Street area, grew up there, and so we have a real connection and roots here.
Yeah, my dad's side of the family is from New York, and my mom's side is from Chicago, and they lived on the west side.
Oh, exactly.
So,
well, right. They would have. I'm sure that they
I'm
probably
sure.
went to Maxwell Street back in the day.
And my great-grandfather was he sold produce from a truck. So
Really?
I'm sure that they were there all the time. I should ask my grandparents.
Wow. Did he end up then buying a shop?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if that was just like what he did until he retired. But my mom always tells the story of going around on the truck and eating the tips of the asparagus. She was probably 3 or 4 years old, going around with her grandfather. So, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot to that story.
Yeah, that was where we started. Now, the Jewish population eventually moved from that part of the city.
Yeah.
They moved to Pill Hill, as it was called, on the south side. They moved to the north side. They moved to the Gold Coast, and then they eventually started migrating north. But in the meantime, some of these store owners, the Chicago black population had started moving in, and a lot of the shop assistants and a lot of the workers in the shops were black, and eventually the owners would sell or give their shops to these folks, and that eventually, that Maxwell Street area became the black neighborhood that was very important to the engendering of blues and other very Chicago-centric forms of music.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so you started this in 1983, and I mean, where do you play, and like how many concerts do you think that you've played in?
That's a good question. It depends. We've divided our time between public concerts and private parties because, of course, one of my main goals here, again selfishly, was I wanted to see this kind of authentic music being a part of Jewish celebrations, just like it had been in the past.
Sure.
So that was my one of my great purposes with the band was let's get this back to weddings and bar mitzvahs and other celebrations. There was a period in the 1990s and early 2000s where we were probably playing 3 bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah parties or weddings a weekend.
Wow.
And that was our mainstay, with concerts being the thing that we would do on the side. And at the same time, though, we established a not-for-profit called the Klezmer Music Foundation, which is our educational branch of the organization. And as that began to grow, and as the private party part of the performance started to diminish, because all live bands have seen their work diminish. Everything has been supplanted by DJs, essentially.
Is that where, I mean, I've seen parties in both respects, but I mean, it's always, I think, it's nicer when you have the band.
You are definitely preaching to the choir here.
There's a feeling to it.
Well, relating to people is part of the whole, and reacting to the music, the musicians reacting to the people, the audience, is very, we enjoy it a lot. It's very Hamish. It's very personal and intimate, and we love doing it. But contemporary popular music is mostly studio music and is mostly played by DJs. So in the meantime, Klezmer Music Foundation started to grow. That's our organization. And so that has begun to result in a lot of community-based projects. So Junior Klezmer Orchestra has been going on since 1994.
Wow.
A lot of our kids who came through that orchestra have gone on to musical careers. One of them, one of our original drummers in the Junior Klezmer Orchestra, is associate producer of Hamilton on Broadway.
Really?
And yeah. and
That's
we
something
have-
to be very proud of.
We are. And one of our graduates has just has a career in, he graduated Eastman as a cellist, and he's got a professional classical cellist career. He was with us from the age of 8 to 18, so
Wow.
that was really a long time to let's say, develop and work with him on what we could offer, which is the expressionism of klezmer music, the emotionalism. You know, you can have great classical music skills, but to be one of the greats, you also have to be able to emote through your instrument. And that's what Alex Kaufman, our band director, can teach these kids.
Yeah. Do
So-
you have a conductor in these types of bands?
Right, that's
That's what he does,
Alex.
yeah.
Alex is our conductor, and
Okay.
just to mention a few of the other things that the Klezmer Music Foundation does.
Yeah.
I just got to you. I had just come from a meeting with some members of our board about creating a festival in Chicago of junior bands. So.
Wow.
There's a school that you probably know about that teaches Irish music to young people, Irish music and dancing.
What's that called?
Well, the Irish School of Folk Music. I'm probably mangling the name a little bit, but it's a big institution
Okay.
in Chicago. There are schools for Latino music, authentic, different kinds of Mexican and other South American, Central American youth orchestras. There are, Polish, Ukrainian, all the Eastern European. There's many, many different kinds. And our idea is to get many of those groups together, all of whom are devoted to passing on their folk heritage and creating a festival of those things together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was our meeting this morning, because the idea is, what are we all doing? We are all helping our children to have a sense of rootedness in their culture. It gives them a strong identity.
Yep.
And at the same time, we can share with all the other cultures. We have this in common with each other. We are, the melting pot, if you will, but all
Well-
separate and all individual and all with our own skills. So
Well, it celebrates the global diversity of Chicago.
precisely, which is unique in a certain way. Many cities have diversity, but ours has, it's, out in the middle of the Midwest, here we are, this cauldron of different talents.
Yes.
And so that's something we would like to carry forward. We have adult bands where we get together with amateur musicians. They have other things they do in their real life, like being doctors or lawyers or whatever, accountants. But they get together with our bands, at their synagogue, and we teach them klezmer music. And some of them perform for services. Others of them, perform for like little festivals, or they go to nursing homes or whatever.
Yeah.
But they all want to be able to play their instruments and learn klezmer. So we have 3 of those right now around the city.
So do you teach lessons then at these, or
We have
it's-
rehearsals with them,
rehearsals,
right?
Yes.
And we've created our own band book. So these are all educational things that have come out of Klezmer Music Foundation. We also have a group called Salam Shalom, which is an interfaith group. It's Jewish, Muslim, and Christian.
Yeah.
And we all bring together our music. We share the music, we jam together, and we try to bring people together over a cultural affinity for each other as opposed to issues,
Yeah.
Sort of like music and food. We can all agree on hummus,
Exactly. We can all. That's so funny. A conversation with somebody about that the other day.
Right.
Actually, it's so true. And I think it's great how you're trying to reach out to the next generation to be, to be musicians and to share the culture. And what's interesting is my daughter, she's 6 years old, and she's saying she wants to be a conductor.
Oh, great.
So,
Where'd
yeah.
she get that idea?
I don't know where she got the idea, but she's a sharp kid, and she's, before she's saying she wants to be a doctor, she wants to be an allergist, and now she's on to being a conductor. So
Did you get her a little, what do you call it?
Stick?
Yeah, thank you. Word, so that she can conduct in front of the radio or whatever.
I haven't yet, but, if I were,
Baton.
what would you suggest to me or
Yeah.
to anyone else who has kids who are looking to get into music? What should I do?
Well, what's her interest? Is it in conducting like classical? Is that the kind of thing? Or she just wants to, or does she want to, what kind of music does she love?
I think she's open. She's, today we're in the car and she's like, I just want to hear something that I like. She's like, it doesn't matter what type it is.
Well, we took our daughter to Kinder Music.
Yeah.
Which it's one of the programs that's around where the kids learn a series of instruments and also learn to conduct, but it's very hands-on. They do very minimal amounts of reading, just enough to sort of get you launched in terms of literacy.
Yep.
But it's mostly intrinsically, learning harmonization, learning how instruments play together, and so on. So that's what we did, and our daughter, went on to be in musical theater and choir and loves music, So there's Old Town School of Folk Music has some excellent classes for kids, and they have remote classes out in the suburbs too,
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not just in the city, but they have many out in the north suburbs and other suburbs. So definitely worth doing. Something that's fun and hands-on, definitely not a school atmosphere, nothing that feels like work.
Right.
Because music should never feel like work,
No, you should enjoy it. That's the
Right.
point of doing it.
Right.
So do they teach the kids instruments, and then if, let's say, you want to be a conductor, then you know how the music works, or do they just teach you?
Well,
essentially?
I don't think there's conducting classes for little kids.
Okay.
But if they go into, Suzuki is obviously the classical side of the same thing. Once they go in, they will. You always want to have played several instruments before you conduct.
Sure.
So that you know what you're conducting.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to know that when you conduct the brass instruments, you have to do it a little ahead of the beat because it takes a second for that puff of air to emit a noise out of that instrument, right?
Right.
So they got to go ahead, and these you have to hold back a bit. You got to understand the instruments from the inside out, right?
Absolutely. There's so much to it.
Yeah.
And you must enjoy it so much when you're playing, don't you?
Okay. The best thing is I'm a singer. I play guitar, but primarily I'm a singer.
Yes.
And singing is, first of all, it's physical exercise. Mm-hmm. If you're going to sing and you're going to sing in a healthy way, you are breathing to the bottom of your rib cage. You are working out. It is a workout. You're working your abdominal muscles. This is why a lot of people retire, in their middle age from singing. It's a big workout.
Yeah.
So I find it very physically stimulating, and it keeps me really active, you know. So.
And, is it harder to play in a large public concert versus a private event, or does it not make a difference?
Not to me. I like when I'm at a big concert, I feel as if I'm in my living room playing for my parents and my grandparents, which is where I started out, which is where a lot of us started out, right?
Sure.
Putting on little shows for our family back in the day. A sense of intimacy with the audience is what makes a concert, it feels good from the audience side. If you feel like that performer is just talking to you and just singing to you and looking you in the eyes and joking with you, and, this is a big part of the aesthetic of performing and making a big concert feel very close.
Right. Yeah, you definitely can tell when the performer's into it and when they're not, and it totally changes the whole vibe of your experience. I mean, I remember I was at a concert a few years ago, and the performer's like, "Okay, you guys want to hear this one or that one?" And he'd play the song, and same thing. It's like, you don't want to be here.
No, right?
You're playing this for money.
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever.
True. Well, the good thing about being a Yiddish singer and a klezmer musician is you're never doing it for money. That's
Yeah.
it's
you
not going
wouldn't
to
be
happen.
doing it. Yeah. But you're able to make a living on it.
Well, you if that's your goal, then you're not going to be satisfied, because any kind of, and I'm sure this is not confined to Yiddish music,
Right.
there are very few types of music you can sing and play that will bring an adequate amount of, money to live on. But you're doing it because it makes you feel amazing, because you are doing something important. I mean, now your radio audience or podcast audience can't see this, so this is a little necklace that I'm wearing.
Yes.
This is something not too many Jewish families have. It's our family crest.
I don't
Okay.
even know what that is.
Okay, so this is something that my great uncle, whose name was Ben Aronin, created. This is a crest based on the Aronin family, and it has 3 letters on it, which stand for Al Shlosha Dvarim Haolam Omed, the 3 things upon which the earth is, the earth stands. Al HaTorah, V'al HaAvodah, Al Gemilut Chasadim. On Torah, which is the law, Avodah, which is service, and Gemilut Chasadim, which is deeds of loving kindness.
Right.
So he created this for the family because he was from a Hasidic family. His grandfather was a Lubavitch rabbi.
Okay.
He did not choose that path. He and my grandmother chose the path of serving the community. They were involved with Anshe Emet in Chicago.
Sure.
And he was a kind of a freelance educator there. He would just create things with the kids. He would teach them the prophets, for example, by having them take their haftarah, their prophetic, portion, and march around the room, waving their fist and screaming their portion. I mean, it's very hands-on, very getting the kids very involved with that. My grandmother, Blanche, was involved with leadership training for women, and she would go around the country doing that. So for me, I'm part of the same thing. I'm part of a tradition of helping people within this community, within the Chicago Jewish community, to find an emotional touchstone that really grabs them and makes them happy and makes them feel connected. And some people will be involved with the music who maybe are not big shul goers. They don't go to synagogue all the time
Right.
necessarily. They may or may not be involved with Israel in an intimate way, but they love being identified culturally with Judaism.
Right.
And do you know which community is the strongest in this respect right now?
No, which?
The Russian Jewish community.
Really?
They are so culturally identified with being Jewish, and having come to the United States, and especially having come to the Midwest, they feel the need to help their kids carry on this cultural identity that made them feel so Jewish in the Soviet Union, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's nothing better for them than getting their kids involved with Jewish music. So we have in our junior klezmer orchestra a majority of Russian-speaking families involved.
Wow.
It sort of evolved that way. It didn't start that way.
So are they a second generation or third generation?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, both. But they come in and they want their kids to experience the same warmth and intimacy and identification with that music that they did, and some of them did in the Soviet Union, and when they were, like Alex, our violinist, our band director, that music was forbidden. So his grandfather would, sneak him to an interior room of the house to play him Berry Sisters records,
Wow.
So he could hear Yiddish and say, "This is your music. Learn this music."
Well, it's interesting. I mean, because what you're saying is because the Soviet Union didn't want anyone to have any other type of culture besides being a Soviet? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was, Jews were restricted, but every culture, Stalin went through crushing the cultural identity of every republic, which was a former country.
Right.
So he was personally responsible for murdering generations of Ukrainian folk singers and dancers and instrumentalists, for example. And Georgian, he was from Georgia himself, but he crushed Georgian culture. I mean, the way that he decided to unite the Soviet Union was by replacing everyone's individual cultural identities with this Soviet identity. It didn't work.
Obviously.
Well, I mean, he created something in which people did not feel, people may have felt an allegiance to the Soviet Union, but not the sense of cultural pride and continuity that they felt in their own, the culture they'd come from.
Right.
And that's been coming back now, in the post-Soviet Union. Anyway, the Jews in particular were completely restricted and not allowed to not allowed to go to synagogue, not allowed to speak Yiddish. There was a Yiddish paper, but it was a Soviet propaganda tool. That was against religion and anti-Zionist,
Just to be able to reach those people I get you. It's so interesting to see how, that culture tried to smash, Soviet Union tried to smash every other culture, but then you come to the United States where we have celebrated diversity of culture and appreciated it from other people, and how strong that makes us, and people still have a definite sense of identity as being Americans, and it's just
Of course.
but we have our old cultural
know where
heritage.
you've come from. I know, I know where I come from,
yeah.
and you know where you come from, and this makes us. It makes us more resilient. It makes us more likely to go on a path that will be productive and will give back. When Maxwell Street Klezmer Band goes into inner city schools to perform, we have a special program that we bring to the schools, and the point of that program is we have learned the music of our culture. This is what it sounds like. This is how it has survived a number of historical catastrophes. You, students, come from different cultures. You also have something to be very proud of. Your parents and grandparents have also survived a number of calamities to bring you to this place and this day, and if you go back and ask them about their special culture, if there's a special language, their language, if there are special dances, those dances, and folk music, not just what you hear on, podcasts or the radio, but or DJs, but something traditional that takes you back to the land of your origin or the lands of your origin. Find out about that. Ask your parents or grandparents to teach that to you. Mm-hmm. It will root you in something important.
I think that's the key takeaway, and I love what you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think that sometimes, people think that you have to subscribe to everything from the culture in order to be part of it, but you could do it with the music, the food, the writing, the stories. There's a lot to it, and and you can appreciate it.
Sure. If you go back to the origins of Yiddish folk songs in the United States, like the groups that were helping Yiddish song and music to survive in the United States originally were the Bundists, who were atheist communists, who were the ones who started the literary, the literature groups, the poetry groups, the summer camps for kids where they would teach them communist Yiddish songs. They were the ones who originated the labor movement in the United States. These were, they came from Russia, full of socialist ideology. Yeah. And they got things started here in the United States, bringing together people to fight for their rights. And they were, so they were anti-religious originally. Now, several generations later, that evolved. Obviously, as socialism did not work out that well in the Soviet Union, they became more likely to be progressive, let's say. Yeah. Unless they're Bernie Sanders, in which case they're democratic socialists. But that has a yichus. That comes from someplace. That comes from the primarily in New York, but also in Chicago and other city centers, in Toronto and others. That comes from a very strong, culturally identified Jewish contingent. So our music comes from that kind of place as well.
Yeah. And do you think it's important to keep Yiddish alive in addition to the music?
There is an expression that I learned in Israel from an Arab guide. And it's probably an international expression. This is just where I happened to learn it. And he said, with every language that you learn, you gain a new soul. Because that language expresses you by virtue of its uniqueness, its unique perspective that a language brings with its vocabulary and its history and the way that it's used. It gives you a completely different way of expressing yourself. It's like, you know how they say that some things, a Yiddish joke told in English may not be as funny, for example. That's because the language itself contains the humor, right?
Yes.
So in Yiddish, we have a very big slice of the Jewish soul. And it's impossible to completely translate it into anything else. So yes, I want Yiddish to be preserved. Maybe it will never be spoken as the Mama Lashon, as anyone's first language again. But I would like it not to be anyone's last language. I would like everyone to be able to understand a little Yiddish, enough to understand some anecdotes, a few jokes, a little wisdom.
Yeah.
Things you can only get through that particular perspective that Yiddish gives you.
I hear you.
Well, you speak some different languages, right?
Well, I speak, obviously I speak English. I speak Hebrew.
Okay.
I know some Yiddish.
Okay.
I know a little bit of Spanish and whatnot, but I kind of wish I knew more fluent languages.
You immerse yourself in a country, right, in order to really get... Yeah. When I speak Russian, I feel like I am a different person at a certain level.
Yeah.
Because it brings out a different personality, okay? Mm-hmm. Just as when you speak Hebrew. When I speak Hebrew,
it's like you're
I'm
changing
in Israel.
your brain.
Right, you are.
Yes.
And you're allowing other parts to be expressive. And it's funny, Alex will say to me, he says, if I'm discussing business, even if I'm talking to another Russian, I want to speak in English. because English is a great language for business. It's very practical. You can say exactly what you mean in a very short way. It's a fabulous language for business. He says it's a terrible language for love.
Really? Because it's just too curt?
And for a Russian speaker, anyway, very dry.
Yeah.
Businesslike, transactional, right?
Yeah.
So it's true. Languages give us, so Yiddish is important. Even if, in my junior band, for example, if I do nothing more than teach teenagers, how to feel very comfortable singing in Yiddish and to understand what they're singing, they've already got something right there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother way to express themselves.
This is something I love, by the way, is I start out with kids, and when they come into the junior band, I do the vocal coaching. Alex and some of our other musicians do the orchestra part. And when we start out together, Yiddish is just this diabolical language that gets caught on your tongue. And by the time we get into middle of second session, I can just bring in a Yiddish song, and I don't even have to tell them how to pronounce the words. And they're just jumping right in and singing it. And they're totally at home and comfortable in it. And they even understand it. It's so amazing to see this happen. They take it home with them, and then they take it into the world.
Yeah, I guess you just get into it and you start to understand. I would love to know what it all means.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
You have to send us your children. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Now, by the way, as long as
Fair
we're
trade.
mentioning it, Junior Klezmer Band meets on Sundays throughout the school year, every other Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
At the Beth Hillel. Cantor Pavel Reutman has been
Sure.
very hospitable to us.
My
and
kids are at the Hebrew school there.
Well, there you go. And it's an easy transition.
Exactly.
A lot of their kids are in our junior band, but he has opened up the synagogue to host the Junior Klezmer Orchestra on Sunday afternoons throughout the school year.
That's really good to know.
And that's also the home of the Wilmetsky Orchestra, which is an adult orchestra made up of grown-ups,
It's the adult version.
That's right. So they meet as well, and we rehearse with them as well at Beth Hillel. Yeah. You play an instrument?
I learned how to play guitar when I was a teenager, but I really haven't played in a long time. So I don't know if it's necessarily for me. But again, maybe my daughter. So
there you go.
I will talk to her about that. And if people want to hear you guys, where can they find you online? Where can they find your music and whatnot?
Sure. So I've gone this far without mentioning any websites. Let's go ahead and do that.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To find out about all the projects that we do that are educational and outreach projects, go to klezmermusicfoundation.org. Or let's say that you think these are wonderful things and you want us to keep doing them, you can go there and make a donation. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. We also have, for Maxwell Street Klezmer Band, the website, very easy to remember, klezmerband.com.
That's very easy. Yes.
That's what happens when you get in the 1980s. You get klezmerband.com. Yes.
Smart. Yeah.
And that way we can put you on our mailing list, our email mailing list. We won't send you anything except our newsletter, just to let you know where the band will be performing. If there's other Yiddish klezmer things going on, we just let people know, once, twice a month about those things.
Okay. And then to buy your music, go on iTunes or other places?
Yeah, on iTunes, or we'll, we have these little things called
little
CDs.
square things?
These little square things called CDs.
How do you put them in?
We can put those into the mail to you.
Yes. And records. I mean,
Yes.
it's so, records are actually
They're
pretty
coming
popular.
back, right?
Yeah.
How do you like that? We got an actual piece of vinyl.
Yes.
But and we're on YouTube and what have you. But we're mostly interested. I mean, we can go. Let's say that you have a grandparent in a nursing home.
Yeah.
Okay. From the Memory Project that you've probably heard of, that music is the primary way to reach people with dementia and memory loss, or people who have been physically incapacitated.
Yeah.
Music has a way of reviving parts of the brain, and with that, honestly, the spirit. So when we can go into a nursing home and we can play familiar music, that's like one of the most meaningful things we do. And so we often get people who will sponsor us to do that because their grandparent or their parent is in a nursing home and they would like to celebrate their birthday with a little concert for the home. So we'll come in and play for them. We do a lot of that.
It's a beautiful thing that you do.
Well, it feels good.
Yeah, it should. Well, it was a pleasure to have you here, and I think I learned quite a bit about what you do and just about the whole world of klezmer music and folk music in general. So you're a real treasure to the area.
Thank you, and thank you for reaching out to me and to people where we can discover our community through what you do. It's also a big mitzvah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and have a good one.
Hashem Dank.
Hi, thanks so much for listening to this latest episode of Inside the Skev. I really hope you enjoyed it. Just a reminder, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in the Chicagoland area, or even specifically in Skokie or Evanston or the Skev, feel free to reach out to me. I'm a real estate agent over at Dreamtown Realty in Evanston. You can email me at aaron@skevinston.com or go to my real estate website, which is my name, aaronmasliansky.com. Got a lot of great information there. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for listening.